What is up, guys? Wraec is here with a new video, and today we're going to take a look at number 3, the third hero in our series of Transcendence heroes, where we uncover all the secrets, talk a little bit about the history of them. We did SFX and SQH, and now it's time for the OG warrior, the first Transcendence warrior, actually. Very interesting, it was Asmodel. Many people might think it would be LFA, because he has he's a little bit more famous, we can say. But no, it was Asmodel, and Asmodel is also known, and I have to say this at this point, as the first Transcendence disappointment. We had SFX, who was considered very powerful and had like her big abilities and big hits that weren't really known before for normal heroes. And we had SQH with all her support stuff, and then we got Asmodel, who couldn't really keep up with SFX in terms of damage and couldn't really keep up with SQH in terms of support, and was kind of in between, and people didn't really know where to put him. And I think to an extent this was kind of a mistake, because he tried to combine both. In a way, he had support, he had damage, he had all of that together, and tried to bring that to the board. So what we are going to do is we're going to do a little bit of his, and I want to show you guys how this guy works. I did the first attempt here with Michelle's, by the way. This was like the OG way to use them. The way this would look would be kind of like this, not with the actor skill. Usually you wouldn't have that. We have a toad there. The heroes would die, and that actually gives him buffs, and this enhances his damage by quite a lot. And having the Michelle's that revive is of course a great way to enhance his damage. We also have the cores equipped. You can kind of just see that. You see that when he attacks, there is like this little chariot coming down and attacking the enemy as well. And this was the OG way to use him, and kind of shown by the Michelle's. Another way to use him that we have right now, if you have more light Transcendence heroes, is if you actually go ahead and just put in more heroes. And the thing is, we have Wukong here. The problem with Wukong is he kind of blocks enemies from attacking us. So if we go in with Wukong, 3 out of those enemies can't really attack us. You see the chariots there, bam, chariots attacking the enemy. Every time those chariots attack, by the way, this is every time we do a basic or active skill, the chariot will come and will attack the same enemies. This is a score effect. It will also buff our all damage, our holy damage, and reduce the enemy's all damage dealt, based off the amount of stacks of revenge that they have. The problem being here that with the stun from the Wukong, our amounts of revenge stacks is kind of limited, because those we really get by the enemy attacking those heroes with the special shield that you see right here. There's a special shield. It's a little bit hidden. It's like a faint glow that we have there. And hitting this will give them stacks of revenge, which is the core ability of our ATD. And so with Wukong together is a little bit of a problem, which is why I will kind of cut him out from this team for a second. We'll put those in the back row, because we need to use one a little bit weaker hero now for this. And I guess, who do we go for? I'm not too sure who we go for. I'll be honest. Difficult. Difficult. Maybe we just put Gurki in there. The OG Gurki is of course always welcome. And yeah, now you see the shields here a little bit better. Those are called glorious supports. They enhance the all damage reduction of the hero, and will make it so they take a whole lot longer to die, especially in the past when sources of all damage reduction weren't quite too common. You have to remember, I think this was even before the release of Crown, if I remember correctly. Even before the release of that, so having all damage reduction just readily available through this hero had a whole lot more value than it has now, actually. So that is something to keep in mind. And he's really the hero for exactly this situation, for the comeback situation, for the situation when most of your team already died, then he retaliates. And this is really also why his ability is called Revenge. Those are revenge stacks, and he takes revenge for his allies being hit, for his allies being killed, and this is what he does. So whenever an ally is killed, Asmodel Launtis has his HP restored 2 times, so it's particularly effective against healing curses. Each time restoring 18% of max HP makes him really, really tanky if you have like revive heroes. And it also increases Asmodel Launtis all damage dealt by 18%. And this is pretty cool, because this is a little bit, the old style of idle heroes, you know? The old style of idle heroes was really to give buffs without duration. They did this quite often, and eventually common sources of this were nerfed. They even had to nerf Gurki like a hero that wasn't really used because people start using him in Star Expedition because he can buff holy damage without duration cap. So here we find another buff without a duration cap, which has become kind of rare. So he can buff his all damage dealt. So if you ever are searching for a game mode or for a hero for a game mode where we have infinite durations, Asmodel the Dauntless, some revive heroes like LBM and Ezreal, and you will be good to go. You will be good to go and get yourself a ton of all damage dealt. And we inflict 2 stacks on Revenge of the attacker. This Revenge does nothing inherently, but then interacts with all of his skills. So it's one of those empty skill effects. 25% chance to inflict extra layer, and this all damage dealt buff is shared with his teammates, which is interesting, is something that IHP does as well. So 30% of that is also shared with the teammates, making him a little bit of more of a support hero. And then we can make use of those revenge stacks. Number one use is of course for his ult, where we see that 1200% of damage to the backline, reduce their armor by 50%, speed by 80%. Speed reduction is something that you should know. Like if you take something away from this video, it's this 80 speed reduction. It can be quite important. So he has a way to reduce backline speed by 80, which is something that sometimes you can use to actually make bosses a little bit slower. Can be interesting. After summon the Heavenly Chariot that deals 60% damage to all enemies for every 1 stack of revenge that target has, deals additional 96% of damage up to 3 times. Then he removes 3 stacks of revenge, and then we have here the deep sublimation that makes it 4 times and enhances his damage. His damage was considered mediocre at release. I'll have to be honest about that. His damage was considered mediocre at release, and not up to the game with SFX. And we remember vividly at the time when we got the new Void Vortex, and the question was with which hero you can clear that. Answer was always SFX, maybe with Asmodel. Maybe. But he was rare and thus not really tested too often. And this was something that wasn't really recommended too much. The last one was the Glorious Support that you already saw at the beginning of the battle and at the end of each round. It grants to one ally with the lowest HP Glorious Support for 1 round. With the sublimation, there's a 30% chance to grant it to 2 allies, and enhances all damage reduction by 40%, which is a lot. And every time this hero gets hit, it will also inflict 1 stack of revenge on attacker and upgrade Asmodel the Dauntless precision by 18%. And what you have in mind, or what you need to know for building him, is that you don't want to put any crit on him, and you don't want to go for precision. Those are like the 2 things, because he will get more than enough crit through those abilities, he will get more than enough precision through those abilities. So what you want to do to enhance his damage is you want to max out the crit damage, you want to go for armor break, and then it's just holy damage and skill damage. Mostly skill damage, because we have the core that can also get holy damage. And inherently, I don't know if you saw that, we have 40% precision already on the ult. So that is also something to see. Roll-wise, by the way, yeah, not very fancy, I'll be honest. I'm not very fancy, I'll be honest. I rolled something GK on him. So we can, if you see any damage today, we can enhance it further. And then we have one more topic before we go back into battling. That is very, very important to me. It's skins. He doesn't have many skins. In fact, the skin that I currently have on him is this one. That is the Mythic Starry Groom. I think there's also a festival skin. Wait, let me check. It's a Valentine's limited festival skin, Starry Groom. And this one is a bit better than the other one. It has attack, crit damage, and damage reduction. The other one does actually only have HP, which is not a cool crit damage here, and we don't have the attack buff. This one, we can take a look at the animation. Yeah, it looks way better. In my opinion, that is the best Asmodel skin. That is the best Asmodel skin. That is the coolest one. But what I then usually do is I equip this one because it has better stats, and then I deactivate it so you don't only see the base design. Yeah, Tenant-wise is pretty okay. It's for most of the older heroes. Tenant-wise, you really can't say a whole lot because they didn't have the big selection, and usually got the later heroes as well, which gave him quite some good ones. So we have Starwing Jara and we have Eos there. Eos is of course one of the best tenants, so that is pretty nice. And then we have SQH and we have DTV, so SQH is a pretty great tenant. We have that on LFA as well, so overall pretty good. This slot, Cyan to Silago, was really criticized in the past because, well, it's only assassins. Assassins are naturally bad tenants. Nowadays, no longer that important, really. No longer that important, because we don't have to worry about it anymore, as the other slots just provide you that much more and that much more power. So Maybe we try that one more time here. You can see glorious support on both of those heroes. The active skill on slot on at the beginning is actually not that great. It really doesn't do a whole lot. In this scenario, I guess it doesn't hurt us a whole lot either. So I didn't really worry about it. We have a ton of CC. He's naturally pretty good against CC. His basic attack buffs his control immunity for quite a considerable time, so it's not uncommon, or was not very uncommon in the past, that you saw his control immunity reach just like 100% and just be fully control immune. One problem that I noticed, and we can kind of take a look at it a little bit later on. I said he has nice CC immunity, and then he just can't get off. His body was just dragged back to the slot because he died over here. Yeah, this damage on them is just like obscene. I don't know, they have on-death damage, and I mean, already gave him, he has a frog equipped, so he already has a pretty good defensive artifact, but nonetheless doesn't really make a difference. I think we would have to spread that maybe between more allies. But yeah, that is kind of funny how he died there. Kind of like that. It's kind of pretty cool. Yeah, so we can try this one more time, and while we're doing that, so skill-wise, I have to say the active skill still has a bit of potential. I think we have to take in mind he wasn't really considered the best damage dealer even in the past, but he is pretty solid. Like, even if you want to go against something like Valkyr, he doesn't have CC, so you aren't at risk of CCing the enemy, which is something that I like for a damage dealer, because you really don't want to CC the enemy unnecessarily in some situations, and thus in this scenario he is pretty good there. The thing that I don't really like about him is that his damage really relies on like teammates getting hit, which is in many scenarios a little bit difficult. One very stupid scenario that I have for you guys and want to show you, and maybe for this specific one I adjusted the speed order a little bit, so we should be fine doing this. We will go again for the Fortune J-Toad, we will put it away, do the melodic strings, and we will go against this Gustins. And I want you to keep an eye out on how many hits actually land on that DGN. That is one. Dodged the second one, a third one hit, fourth one hit. Okay, this time we have a pretty good run. But the problem that I found there, okay, so 1/3 of those hits were actually just dodged. And we can't dodge the passive damage, so the passive damage that we really do want to dodge, that one hits us and the rest doesn't. So yeah, kind of horrible in this sense, we have to say. The glorious support here, we can see, yeah, it's pretty good. It's all on our allies, so we can make good use of that. Now it's on the LBM, we swap that over, goes there. They kind of pinged our heroes away. But overall, he's pretty tanky here. So that is pretty good. And damage-wise, we see, like, in a pretty similar scenario, in a not optimal scenario here, we are still doing a little bit more than SFX. So that is really not too bad. We can run him fairly comfortable with Balanced Strike as well. Not in every situation will he do very well with that, and probably in the Sealand situation we would have been better off running him not with Balanced Strike, but with Unbending Will, so that he survives the end damage there. But here it actually works reasonably well. He has a pretty big HP pool, he has the defensive stats of a warrior, so that overall makes it pretty reasonable to run him like that. We have we don't have the core active of him, I think. Oh, we have to switch that. Let's quickly get this to an end and put it on triple speed, and then try this again with the core. So yeah, the pings here are a little bit unfortunate. I would rather see this fight without the pings. Look at that, nearly half-life. Look at this damage, look at this. So, for SFX I said it's not possible. For ATD, I say it is possible. For ATD, I say this stage is possible. I think it really is. I think we can really get through the stage. Bit of good RNG, bit of good pings and something, maybe a little bit more setup, maybe with some crowns or something. I try to keep this stage up because I actually don't want it to die. I want to give you a reasonable assessment of whether or not it could die. And I'll be honest, I think think if I try this too often now, it will die. The glorious support here, the hits from the core look absolutely great. It's one of the rare cores where we actually have an animation, and yeah, they kind of got pinged to death. They kind of removed that later on, like on the later cores, we often don't really have an animation. Here we do. Was a little bit unfortunate that we got that there. Here we do, and I think it's actually pretty great to have that. I wish they would go for more animations in the game. I kind of understand how they have to be hesitant with that a little bit. Like they are stacking power level on power level on power level, like we saw for DT. It's a little bit difficult because if every single DT skill had like an animation, it would already be tough. And they are obviously planning to stack the next level on top of that. Now we get insanely pinged. Okay, I think we're going to take a look at something else. PvP wise, tough. There's really not much. I have to be honest with that. There's really not much going on there. Self-buff in PvP is not that matter because IAE will just reverse it. So yeah, it's not that great. It's really not that great. The thing, I think the more interesting part is why he was historically used for PvP. And this, by the way, was an experiment. And I kind of, let's maybe attack Lex again. Lex, by the way, and I have to mention it because he probably is going to watch this video, Lex always tries to beat those little challenges that I set up. It's a little bit of a hobby. Sometimes I just go ahead and I set up a challenge in here, and the last challenge I think was Sylvie and Nordenheck, which is going to be a video. This is going to be a video. And he was kind of annoyed because he couldn't beat that one. He couldn't beat this challenge, and was kind of angry about about me setting this up, but I thought it was kind of funny. Let's maybe set up a little bit of a cheesy team. The OG thing that you would do would be to set up those two, because in the OG teams you would try to have Sherlock Low's life so that he gets the glorious support from ATD, and then you would put Magic Stone Sword on this guy, and what that would do is if your enemy runs SFX, which all the people did, because there weren't many Transcendence heroes, all the people ran SFX, this SFX would attack into Sherlock and would actually not be able to kill that Sherlock, which means this LFA wouldn't activate her skills, wouldn't activate her big nuke for the next round, and thus you had one more round to survive and wouldn't get absolutely destroyed by SFX on the next round. So you had Sherlock with the HP swap with the Magic Stone Sword being protected by LFA. And that was like the thing that you would do, and I remember doing that myself. So we have that. I have an SSS tier. I know I have an SSS tier LDA. So maybe we get this guy into the game because, of course, he can also revive. So that is pretty cool. We don't want to overdo it. So let's maybe just hit him with a few of our wonderful Michelles. And now we have a bit of a revive team going there. I think that will be pretty cool with the OG Sherlock. And let's see if we can beat a more meta team there. Oof. I think LDA might steal him the show. I'll be honest, guys. I'll be honest. I'm a bit afraid that LDA might steal the show. So problem we face here. Ooh, okay. He took revenge. The problem that we face here is look at those stacks of debuffs that we have there. Do you see that? 9 attack debuffs, 3 crit debuffs. The reason for that is that if you face an enemy IAE, she will switch IEA. She will switch your buffs into debuffs. And so a self-buffing hero like ATD is not even that great. Because he will buff himself, he will get all of those attack buffs and precision buffs and crit buffs and everything. And then he will kill like an IE hero, will be hit by an active skill from her. And you see how all of those buffs, all of those precision buffs there and everything now turned into debuffs. And that is something I think that kind of makes him difficult to use. So like a big reliance on self buffs in PvP makes it kind of hard. You need a lot of power to actually pull that off. Some power that we only will later see on the likes of IHP, where we also have a ton of self buffs, but we actually get to use it a little bit more. And I think if we now go ahead and maybe search for somebody with a little bit more power, I guess this is like an appropriate level. We have similar power at the moment. We should probably put some more power. Maybe we put like just an LBM, like something like this. Can we go like this? I don't know if this is actually any decent. This is more of a meme team. So let's see what happens here. Okay, we didn't get hit by the Bloom Stars, so that's something. Actually, not that great of a counterattack. Did that LDA just get the kill? Look at that. The active skill did no damage because it was just on the shields. We couldn't even get through the shields. That is mad. That is mad. How much more power can I throw at him? I mean, at one point somebody else becomes the carry. That is the problem. So maybe we just IE him. I have no soul power on that. And we PDE him too. Okay. So far so good. Nearly killed my LDA without chance for revival. Thanks for that. Okay, we got some kills this time. So that is decent. But like this, all the buff removal that we have kind of makes it difficult. Okay, we got the buff from the LBM. Oof. And just got absolutely nuked by enemy IHP. And I reckon she has a lot less power than this guy. I mean, we did good damage this time. But I think the problem is, overall, if we just go into the percentages, and we just take a look at what percentages it is, that is just more. And you can find so many heroes nowadays that just have higher percentages in terms of damage overall. That it kind of doesn't make sense to go for something like ATD in PvP, which doesn't provide that much and is so hard countered by meta units like IAE. Infinite Error Alikita, IEA. Yes. So that is the thing. But what I said, like, I can see him come back to PvP. How is that? Why do I think that? Well, in the recent times, I have thought a lot about making like a more sustainish counter team. And for that, actually just providing the team with 2 times 40% all damage reduction is already great. Plus we can scale some glorious support, we can scale some crit on this guy, and then maybe at one point just do a huge ult if we get to pull that off. Could be fairly nice, and just overall have a little bit support on the team. One thing we haven't really talked about is his Nirvana skill, and I'll be honest, I kind of kept this short. It is one of those 12 layers transition power skills. The problem with those is they just take a long time to prepare, and in general, if your hero has a 12-layer transition power skill, the transition power is not really the focus. Then the hero has to carry, because those are inherently weak. The age, I don't even know how they balanced it, if it was like a conscious decision, but they gave some heroes the opportunity to do their transition power with one. After like 1 active skill, so with 6 transition power, and for some they decided to go for 12, and that is okay. Like, the effect of most of those 12 is a little bit more impactful than those of 6. The problem is though that most of 6 that have 6 can repeat their skill multiple times around, and with all those skills in between, like just having a smaller things here, 1000% damage or something, and repeating this multiple times, makes it so that the ones that you can do more often, the transition power skills that you can do more often, tend to be a lot more powerful, and then those heroes revolve more around their destiny transition than their normal skills. But for ATD, this is certainly not the case. What we have right here is a skill that just deals 1500% of damage for random enemies 2 times. Okay, decent amount of damage, and increases damage reduction a little bit. So not very impactful. If we go for the last skill, it gets upgraded. It's again 12 transition power, and then it's 2000% of attack damage to all enemies, which is an upgrade. Cool, yeah. And increases damage reduction of allies. Usually, and block. The block increase is pretty cool, because 50% block is a lot, but the damage reduction, if you have a decent train, you're usually capped at damage reduction. It is just like the case. One of those stats that is no longer really useful. In there, we don't really have super insane stuff. We have debuff removal ability, we have a shield ability for the front line, which kind of, that kind of works. But again, 12 transition power, a little bit of attack increase, which isn't too powerful. And it's one of the rare heroes that can increase energy. And then we have some damage options where I take the middle one, and here we have all damage dealt or the speed increase, which is just regular. So there's nothing really fancy about that, and thus is also not very interesting. You can run him with many Star Souls. One that I use is Spectre. Spectre on the main damage dealer, in my opinion, makes the most sense. So that is also what I would recommend here. You can also run Pupil, but I would go Spectre. Like first choice is Spectre, and then probably Bloom or Pupil. And this is like what you would do here. So, would I still run him? I think ATD is like a prime choice in my opinion. And let's just go into Void Campaign and try this a few more times while we talk about it. Is a prime choice for a meme account. Look at that! That is it! That was the problem that I had. We got 0 revenge stacks out of it because she just dodged 6 times in a row. Like in theory you would think that is cool, but that just cost us all of our revenge stakes and now we have 0 damage on this ATD. This is a problem. This just comes because I have too many train stats. So yeah, that is what I wanted to say. Pretty cool. He's a prime choice for a meme account. Like an account where you want to go in and just want to say, okay, let's see if I can make some off-meta hero work. Because on ATD, you have a chance. Which is for many heroes just not the case. Like for the people that go in there and say, okay, we'll do Star Alchemist Holmes Young, you don't have a chance to clear anything. At least not like before you go for uber OP stats. For ATD, if you go for some stats like, look at that, we are in stage 10 or in island 10 on Void Campaign. And it is actually the case that I do have a chance. I could go optimize the team a little bit, work a little bit on this and eventually clear it with ATD. I'm pretty sure ATD will clear the stage. And thus I think he is a very, very decent choice to just say, okay, I want to go with that meme account and I want to just see what this off-meta hero can do. And I think it won't be one of those accounts where you have no fun at all. I think you will have a pretty decent time. And maybe as a last perspective, after we look through this, let's take a look at what copies cost. Because I think they got a little bit rarer, but I also can't imagine that they're too expensive because nobody is using this guy. So it's a pretty cool option. In my opinion. First hit there. I mean, we saw the hit on the one Gustin. The thing about him is really balancing the crit, because between enemies that drain your buffs and just like having a lot of buffs very, very quickly, it's kind of tough to say how much crit you want on him. I just generally go for no crit at all. But yeah, so this could work. Let's take a look. That is something I didn't want. Accidentally made this bigger. Okay, absolute misclick. I guess it wasn't too bad. Okay, let's check this out. So we want to have like an ATD, and probably if we filter, we want to have like, probably this is our spectrum. We want to have at least an A- because we want to have some fun. Yeah, look at that. You can get one for like 5,639. This is in the bidding. We have 6,000 here, 7,000 buyout even is possible. You have one with even 6,300 attack with Giant Killer Defier Armor Break on there, which is a pretty good roll. There's like nothing. Wait a second. Look at that. There is nothing above A- in the auction house. That is crazy. But you can get the 7,800 attack one. That is also crazy attack, but 15k is too expensive. This one would be a great copy. You get a nice roll already, because Armor Break, Giant Killer Defier, you can just go and run that. 6,300 attack is good, and you pay 8k. So that is like very, very fair. So I think you can go and get like a very, very easy pick and very, very easily get yourself a very decent hero for a meme account. Like if you go and buy Starry Gems, 20k on SG Hub is like 152 USD, and you have 12k to spare. You can make some CSG with that. You probably have an entire ATD account set up with some packs for some events and everything for like 152 USD if you go for a little bit of a whale route there. I don't know about S tier copies. I had my copy, I bought that for a long while ago. I had a burst copy, and then I saw this one in the auction house, and I had to swap stuff anyway to buy an S tier. And I bought this S tier as food, and then I said, okay, it's better than my copy really. So I swapped it with my copy and just then used my copy as food. So, and then I had this copy on the account. And this is like not great, not bad. I saw an SSS ATD a long while ago. But those copies in general are not too common. But you can get an A-, you can have a lot of fun with it. I think it's a cool hero. I hope at one point that they make this skin, or make another skin for him maybe. And we don't see that generally anymore. It's pretty interesting, by the way. I never really thought about it, but there's many Transcendence Hero where they just say, okay, we got one skin, and then you never go ahead and make it another one, even if it's a very, very popular hero. So that is insane. They really went down with the skin releases. So it's a lot less skin releases than it used to be. Honestly, could be some money that they make with that. I would throw this at just as an extra pack somewhere in there. Like a $50 pack that you can buy on this that does nothing for you on the event. On this event you have the Moonlight gift. But like on an event with or without Moonlight gift, I would just throw it in as a €50 pack that you can get there. And you can get the skin. Could probably make some bank. Okay, giving financial tips to the Edge Games now. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, tell me your best experience with ATD down in the comments. And maybe if some of you have an ATD meme account, I would really care to hear your experience. And with that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.